Hey, welcome back to the Grow Up podcast. This week, you can find my guest on Instagram at Rumery Picks, all one word. And on the 5th of January, you can see him at Sunshine Studios at 7 p.m. Who you opening for again?
John Caparulo.
There you go. It's going to be John Rumery this week. How's it going, buddy?
It's going good, man. Going good. It's been an early morning. Kid had my son had a robotics meet.
Okay.
And that was fun. I was embarrassing him the entire time because he wants to treat it like a sport. He says, I got a coach. Fine, it's a sport. I'm gonna cheer like it's a sporting event.
Woo!
Yeah. Oh, I had like 6 parents turn and look, and I was like, do I have any shame? Absolutely not. This looked like this is gonna stop. And then mom joined in, and then the aunt came, and we were just the loud family.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was a good feeling. So I've been doing good today. I'm doing real good
awesome.
today, man.
What kind of, you said is robotics? Is this like the Killbots from Spike
No,
TV?
okay.
Or?
I initially thought that, and then so did my wife, and I was like, I don't think they let them have like saw blades. I think like even as I know they're not technically battling, but I still feel like they're not going to allow it to be handling the saw blades.
Yeah.
So what it is they do build these like completely from scratch robots. They code them, and it's a competition of like moving rings onto certain spikes, and you can take the other team's rings and move them into negative points. My kid won 3 rounds today. Shout out Elon Musk, we're coming for you.
Yeah.
Watch your back. All right. So I'm real proud of him for that. But it was one of those early mornings.
Hell yeah.
Wake up at 6 after we're working till midnight. But
is that out of town or
no? Just down at Mesa Ridge High School. I mean, it's a whole league. You know, it's grown. When I grew up, there was like 4 things you could do. You could, like play football, you could play basketball, you could run track, you could volleyball.
Most of them involved physical injury.
Yeah,
or
exactly.
Concussions.
And that's how you toughened up. You learn. Yeah. But you can learn teamwork through also building robots. And
how big are these robots?
They're, I would say, about as big as your laptop, maybe about as tall as the mic.
Okay.
They do vary in sizes. There was one that had a conveyor belt that was built into it and was very wide.
That's awesome.
There are other robots and other kids you saw. Like we were watching, we were feeling bad for another kid because it was completely falling apart. Like, and nobody wants to make it obvious, like, oh, it clearly is broken. But like even the kid looked very sad, and we were like, oh, and we heard a mom audibly go, oh, and we're like, everybody just kind of like not pay attention to the fact that we are watching him fail in the moment. But like 2 feet away from him is another match, and there's a referee, and he's like, all right, Team Steel's got it. And this kid's just watching everything fall apart while
oh fuck.
Yeah, it's a real experience. But
what's the standoff?
They learn to be tough during that too, man.
Yeah, hell yeah. What's the standoff for the kids? Are they ever allowed to touch the machine or?
Yeah, so that's what we got. We woke up at like 6 in the morning because you have to get there at like 7:30 to do any final tinkerings, any coding that you need to do.
Okay. Then once. So I'm thinking of Formula One right now. Once the car is tuned, there's I can't remember the name of the term. It's a French term, but at some point is all right. We agree none of us are going to touch our machine.
Yes.
Like, is there a point where you can't touch the machine?
Yeah. So
anymore?
they do like an autonomous moment right before the round, and that's where they make sure their coding is good. That's their final like tune-up check, and then there's a referee and a countdown. And as soon as that's done, no matter what happens in that ring, it's not over until it's over.
Okay. And the kids are not allowed to touch it.
Not allowed to touch it or anything like that. Now, if they have another section called a skills section where it's not a head-to-head competition with teams. It's just how well is your robot built, how well is your, and they just make it run through certain obstacles.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and I'm extremely excited for him because around his age, I was not into building robots.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wanted to be a performer. My mom knew that from the very beginning.
Let's actually get into that. I was going through your Instagram here. I believe one of your pinned reels or something I saw recently. I heard you're a military kid, so we got something to talk about.
Yeah, no, Dad was Air Force. I don't know much.
Did you move a lot because of that? Or
no, so he passed away when I was very young, very young. Yeah. Like I said, true performer through and through. Tragic backstory. Yeah, he passed away when I was about 7 years old.
Was he still active duty?
Yeah, he was still active duty. I do have memories of him going to like TDY and then coming back from overseas. It was weird because I still experience a lot of military benefits being a child of someone who was in the military even after they passed. And then at 18, they're like, hey, your mom still gets the benefits.
But not so much.
You better either sign up or get out, dude. You're not allowed on this base anymore. And you lose like a military ID once it expires. After a certain age. You can't.
What year did you turn 18?
2010.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I know with like Obamacare, because your parents have to cover your insurance to 26 now. I don't know if that changes your dependent ID card benefits.
Well, either way, I've learned how to muster up on my own since then.
Hell yeah.
So yeah, my mom still gets
an option for you.
No, my brother went into the military and good for him.
Yeah.
But he did Marines and he came back responding like kill.
Yeah.
And I was just like, okay, well that's not
that's not the vibe I'm going
I
for.
think I can learn a little self-discipline I understand, not to knock the military, because for some people I believe like, hey, it has changed lives and given opportunities to some people who otherwise wouldn't have those.
Yeah.
And it can give structure to people who need it. So I totally understand it. I was looking at it as a possible option for myself. But if you also feel like, hey, I can do this on my own.
Yeah.
Now, not to get like too conspiracy-wise, but I think it's crazy how designed America is for you to join the military.
Yeah.
Because all the major things you need, health insurance, housing, education, those are the three things they advertise you right off the bat. Yeah. They're just like, look, I know it's tough out there. To live in this country, you should probably fight for it.
Yeah.
Because we'll give you those things. If not... Go, by all means, try to afford it on your own.
It's tough.
We've got them in our pockets.
Yeah. What I like too is the old retirement system. Like that was half your paycheck for the rest of your life. I'm like, all right, that's what I'm aiming for. I'm relatively healthy, but
see, my stepdad's retired and he's doing fine, but now he's just doing weird shit. Like, he bought a wetsuit, and I'm like, you live in San Antonio. There is no ocean near you. Like you have to drive away. To get into a wetsuit unless you're wearing it.
I think, right?
Yeah, unless you're going to SeaWorld in the full wetsuit, which is fine. You spend your Saturday how you want, but he's like learning how to dive. He's like, I learned how to do a basic coding program. I was like, why? He goes, I don't know. They had classes. And I was like, okay, man, you're just filling your time.
How old is he?
I'm going to say in his 60s and leave it at that, just in case he listens to this and he just gets pissed beyond means.
He's geriatric.
Yeah, no, he's healthy. He's healthy for sure. But now he's just like slowly becoming an average Batman archetype because he just like has all these skills and he's like, I'm watching my health, I'm getting cardio, I'm learning how to box.
Hell yeah.
And I'm just like, cool. When are you going to use any of these? I don't know, but I'm ready.
Keeps you healthy though.
I'm head on a swivel. Remember what I told you, head on a swivel. And I'm like, man, you are prepared for every disaster that has never happened to you. But thank for him because now I try to keep my, head on a swivel.
Yeah, it's good.
Especially today, man. I worry for my son all the time because I'm like, oh man, everything's dangerous out there. And then I look at him and go, oh, but you're smarter than me, so you'll be fine. You'll be fine.
Well, the problem is right now is if you're too smart, you might get murked in the streets of New York. So don't get too smart.
Oh, look, man, we're gonna just jump into that. Look, one, I think I saw the photo, and I can't prove it's not Dave Franco, the brother of Jay, but. Google a picture that they have, and then Google an early photo of Dave Franco. That smile seems pretty spot on.
Look, crazy. That happened Wednesday morning?
Yeah,
and they're still trying to figure out what the fuck.
Who's gonna narc on him?
Yeah.
Like who?
We all agree to some extent.
The only thing I can you are the ultimate snitch at that point. I think the only thing I can equivalent is like cartoon archetypes of you remember that cartoon Recess, that kid Randall? He'd have a notebook and he would just write on the kid and tell the teacher. That's the only person. If an animated archetype of a cartoon would be the only person to rat this guy out. And even so, let's say he gets rat out and then he has to have a jury all say all right, every one of them have to agree to send him. So let's say that happens, okay?
Yeah.
Then you have to go to jail, and you're known as the guy who did what he did.
Did everybody a favor.
Yeah, and the guards gonna be like, so which cell do you want? Like, we have one with a master king bedroom.
Do you want to sleep in the day room? It's got
exactly.
a TV.
Do you want my room? Like, I don't see how bad, because the whole thing about jail is that the guards are like, you're a criminal. We're gonna make sure you are aware you feel and you rehabilitate. You don't want to go through this again.
Yeah.
But I don't think anyone's gonna be mean to him. Like,
you have to be tried by a jury of your peers, and at any point, I think he'll at least get beyond a reasonable doubt, or he won't get reasonable doubt with that. Somebody's gonna be like, no, I'm doubting that this wasn't.
You know, I blame this, by the way, on HBO. You guys made The Penguin, and everyone's like, I can do crime as long as I do it during the day, because on the bullet it said the healthcare slogan. It said depose, and I was like, that's Batman level.
Yeah.
That's exactly like all we need now is a guy in a suit to fight him at night.
What we currently know, I'm going to assume that he was either military or police. The way he was handling that, I don't know if you've seen like
God,
the whole
if
thing.
he was like just ranked on Call of Duty, that's going to be even better. Like, I just want to find out this is some, because that's the spark of a revolution. If you find out it's some 7-Eleven average guy, then everyone's going to be like, I can do it. I can stand to those who are oppressed.
I love all these people on the news. They're trying to take the moral high ground, like, oh, this isn't right and all that stuff. Like, do you know what we did or what the French did during their revolution? They just dragged assholes out of their houses and fucking beheaded them.
I immediately said, I was like, this is revolution, babe. Because, like, again, I have family who's lived in third world kind of like, it happens.
Yeah.
It may not make the main news, as much as we think.
So much to me, like, I do want to be like the sane adult, be like, yeah, it's not right to kill people on the
100%.
streets.
Yeah.
But first off, the company he was with, highest percentage of denials of service with their customers. And then I found out that he was in an antitrust. So, like, he's currently being investigated by the federal government because of an antitrust law. He sold $15 million worth of stock options before it became public that he was going to be involved in antitrust. I have problems with people that do antitrust. I have problems with health insurance. Like, I think it's a good idea to pull all of our money and give it to the people that need it. Well, but when you're the asshole going like, we're not giving it to you, fuck you.
And see, I wish I was just a little smarter, because I don't feel smart enough, because I feel like I get it. I feel like, hey, we all pay $2 instead of paying $8.
Where are you getting $2?
Like, no, like, it's just to simplify. Like, if we all pitch in a smaller amount, when we go to the doctors, we don't have to pay a big amount because we all pitched in that small amount. You know, like, if we all paid in $2, when I go to the doctor, I don't have to pay $8.
I see what you're
like, I'm trying to keep it in small numbers because I'm dumb. So simple, small numbers, and that's what I understand is what, you know, the idea that we want to go towards. Other countries have implemented it and it's worked, but again, I know that I'm missing something because we're not doing it. Yeah. And then it can't be that it's that simple and we're not doing it, because then it's just like, well, if it is that simple and we're not doing it, then we're just mean. Yeah. Because I like to believe that I'm just not getting it.
Yeah. See, I like what the Germans did is they tied insurance and with their taxes. The Germans do pay more taxes, and I know, oh my God, taxes are terrifying.
Exactly. We pay $2 more.
Yeah. But if you go into a German emergency room and prove that you're a taxpayer, it's fucking, you can skate through the process. I've known it because I've seen it.
And it's such a wild argument that it's healthcare. This isn't.
It's like it's
this isn't a luxury.
Human needs. Yeah. I'm not saying you have a right to a television. I say you have a right to not have somebody try to profit from your fucking cancer treatment.
And this is how I know for, like, if again, just simplify it to prove, hey, how do I know healthcare's shady? Just walk through your pharmacy aisle and take a look at a name brand cold and flu medicine versus the non-name brand. And then look at the ingredients. They're the exact same shit, but for some reason, one of those is going to cost you up to 200% more, 300% more.
If you really want to be pissed, take those two prices and then compare them to the Canadians and the Mexicans.
100%.
And the Cubans.
You want to know, I'm going to say this about Hispanic and Mexicans. You guys are surviving probably because you guys are staying healthy. That's all I'm saying. Your healthcare is really good, and you guys get to have 6 children because they'll all live.
It was... Who's the guy that did Fahrenheit 9/11, Bowling for Columbine?
I know who you're talking. I see
Michael
him in my
Moore.
head. Yeah.
Michael Moore took a bunch of people down to Cuba because apparently, like, medical costs are like ridiculously low. Person walks out with like $20 worth of medication, like sets them up for like 6 months. The exact same medication was like 4 digits, thousands and thousands of dollars. It's like, what the fuck, man?
Yeah, and it's just the also the hoops you have to jump just to get basic. Like I'm on 2. Like I have a CPAP machine, and I have allopurinol for my gout. These are covered in Medicare and Medicaid, and but without it. It's like upwards of $1,000 to get a CPAP machine just to get the appointment. And that's something I need to breathe while I sleep.
Yeah.
Like, it's a pretty...
pretty fundamental.
And then even when I got it, they're like, prove to us you're using it. I was like, wait, what do you think I got it for? Yeah. Like, it's a CPAP. It's not a roller coaster. Like,
you're stripping it for parts.
Yeah, what do you... Exactly. And so I had to prove that I was using it. And I was thinking that. And then I follow Do Better Denver. And they were showing one of the hostels that was vacated out. And I swear to God, I saw a CPAP. And I was like, that's why. Someone else ruined it.
Yep. They now have Bluetooth CPAP machines.
Yeah, mine has a Bluetooth on there.
The military, one of the biggest money percentage grabs for like your VA benefit, it used to be 50%. I don't know if it still is, but they're like, all right, you go in there, get diagnosed, and you never use the machine. Now it's like, okay, we have a Bluetooth, so you're going to fucking use this thing because we're paying you a shit ton of money.
See, when you said the military, I thought you were going to say had the highest percentage of people who need CPAPs. And I was like, that tracks. There's a lot of guys like me with no necks in the Air Force. I don't know if that was a requirement to join the military. They take your neck away, and then you can become a sergeant.
Well, I think when you hit your 13 to 15 year mark, you just give up on your own physical fitness. So you just start blowing up. And
that's what's... Look, I have the body of someone who's been in the military, but I don't have the body of someone who could join the military, which is very upsetting. Like, I would have to get in shape just to get to a point where I could go back to out of shape. Yep. But I am getting back in shape. I have to. Yep. I have to, because my kid will outlive me, and I can't have that happen. I'm going to be there till the very end.
How old are you?
I'm 32. I'm 32.
Get your 30s squared away. So the better you treat yourself in your 30s and your 40s, your 50s and 60s, your quality of life will be so much better.
Oh, I'm already seeing it, because I'm seeing buddies of mine who, when I was in my 20s, they were in their 30s, and some of them took care of themselves, and they've improved since.
Yeah.
And then some of them didn't, and I'm like, you look like you're already in your 50s, man.
Yeah.
And I was like, the difference is night and day.
Yeah.
And I'm just doing small stuff, man. I'm going back to the gym for about an hour a day.
Nice.
Just small healthy choices. I'm not saying I have a great diet, but every once in a while I'll pick a grilled chicken wrap instead of a burger. Small little choices, man.
Earlier this week, something came out about what is it called? Highly processed foods, ultra processed foods. I'm now looking at like, okay, how do we get away from that stuff? Because the laundry list of problems.
Give you my advice. Go shop at an Asian market.
Okay.
Because all those vegetables are from their backyard. They all grew. They garden them themselves. They're pure. They're good. Cook that. Make some soup, and then you'll be healthy.
Nice.
Asian markets have a lot of like just farm to table stuff, because that's what they were built on. Just family farm to table farming and meat and also just good quality product, because they already have that stigma of someone coming in there and saying, hey, your food sucks. It's rotten. So they're like, no, it's fresh. We got it today. But we went to H Mart in Denver, me and my family. We got a buttload of spinach and radishes and just made a lot of good, healthy stock.
See, my problem is the convenience. Is like, I'm not a big cook. So if I could just eat something raw, cool. But the problem is like eating vegetables raw, not really high in calories.
No.
It's like you got this huge, stomach full of like raw vegetables, but you're at like 200 calories.
Maybe this will be a good move. We'll see in the future if I lose a bunch of weight. But I've been doing chicken salad as a like snack when I need protein.
Just stay away from the
pita bread.
100%. Yeah, salad dressing. Yeah.
It's small choices, and hopefully that'll work, because 32 means that now my metabolism just left.
Yeah.
Like when I was 20, I do realize like I used to be able to put stuff down.
Yeah.
And like I wouldn't go anywhere, man. I'd wake up the next day and feel fine.
Yeah.
Burn stuff off immediately. Week back at the gym, I'm down to shirt size back when in my 20s.
So lucky.
Yeah. Well, no, now it's like, hey, man, you better get there every single day. You better do your stretches. I make sure to do my stretches before and after.
It changes everything, dude.
Oh, yeah. And a lot of that is seeing how spry my son is at 13. And I'm like, I'm going to end up having to chase after him in a walker.
Yeah.
If I don't get back into some. Because now if I don't do anything, I'll just keep getting wider.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to find something in the middle. I don't think I'll ever get a six-pack. I hate when all my friends are like, I don't want to be all buff. I was like, it doesn't just happen on accident.
Yeah. You're talking about years.
If that's your worry, you're fine.
Yeah. It's not like if you spend 5 more minutes at the weight room, you like overdo it and you're like Schwarzenegger. No, it's you see it coming like I need to slow down.
I am pacing myself. This is my first couple weeks back in the gym, and I've just started doing all the workouts I see the old people doing because I'm like, those guys are maintaining. They're sticking around. They're gonna stick around. Whatever they're doing, I'll probably increase the weights a little bit, but I'll just do those.
What changed my perception completely? My ex-wife is related to a professional wrestler, Diamond Dallas Page.
No, that's dope. That's dope.
It's
man.
cool as fuck. He actually is doing his own yoga program.
No,
now.
I know about DDP yoga. Because
I've done that workout with him.
It came out right around when P90X was coming out.
Yep.
And I did P90X.
Okay.
And it was like you either were one of those camps, the DDP camp or the P90X camp. And all my friends who did DDP, they stuck with it. Yep. And then their long-term results were better. All my P90X friends, they
just beat the shit.
Dude, they got jacked for a while, and then they just, all of them got some kind of like my back just hurts. I was like, probably because of the P90X we did. And then the Ab Ripper X afterwards that we also followed.
What changed it for me completely, so I was on board with him, being healthy and everything. I was in the backyard. I mean, what we were talking about, but we've both been drinking quite a bit, me specifically. But he took a step back, and there was a step behind him. When he recovered his step, like the way he grabbed, he had like a pole next to him. The way he recovered was just like, holy shit. If that was anybody else his age without his mobility, we've been calling the fucking ambulance. But because he's been doing that shit for basically 20 plus years now, yoga, it's like, okay, maybe this is what I need to be doing in my late 30s.
Yeah. No, a lot of the guys that I know who are in like blue collar jobs
just beat the shit.
Beat the shit. And a lot of that's just because like they didn't stretch.
Yeah. Stretching is what it's all about.
My wife makes sure every time she's like, you better stretch before you leave. Like, stretch now. It's cold. Like, make sure that she's like, I don't want to hear you whining for the next 2 weeks because you didn't listen to this simple 30-second like prevention.
I'll tell you, stretching and then cold plunge has completely changed my life.
So I did that when I was like actually playing sports and I was really trying to get in shape. I would take these I would take my shower, bottom freezing temperature. Yep. And then I'd step into it and try and stay in there for like a minute.
It's the worst.
Oh man! But I would start my day feeling like jump start right off the beginning, and I think that's another thing I'd recommend to just anybody who finds himself in a slump. Try making your first activity something. I wouldn't say the worst, but challenging for sure. Challenging. Like for me, getting up and doing the gym right in the morning. Has been better than for me planning it. Like, because if I planned it, I tried planning like, oh, I'll go at night. I'll go after work. Excuse came up. Yeah. Every reason. We did a lot today. We got early morning tomorrow. Like, whatever. Yeah. If my first thing that I'm doing is going to the gym, then I'm like, all right, now after that, what else do I have to do? Yeah.
It's so much easier.
Yeah. I just did mountain climbers, so what else do I have to do today? Yeah. I'm not on my ass right now wheezing. What else do I have to do?
Yep. So this summer, got into cold plunge and running every morning. So I'd run around my block, watch the sunrise. That's another huge thing, watch the sunrise. But then I'd jump into 44-degree water. Like, I have a legit cold plunge now. And 3 minutes in, dude, like, all the lifting from the day before just melted away. Like,
today
it's a life changer.
Today's a little sore for me because it is my first rest day. It's my first, because you gotta rest. Yeah. And I'm feeling it because I'm doing full body workouts. I'm doing leg presses. I'm doing, the box jumps. I'm making sure to get every nook and cranny. The cardio, I'm not running as much as I'm doing, like step ups and things like, high knees and mountain climbers. I'm still doing some cardio work.
Yeah.
I have real bad knees from having gout undiagnosed for so many years.
Oh, jeez.
That's kind of where I'm trying to get back into. The goal is to be able to run like I used to. Man, I used to run cross country. I used
Hell
to
yeah.
Man, there's a photo of me somewhere in a football outfit where I swear I was like, that is a fourth of who I used to be. But I was skinny, because I loved sports. I loved basketball. When you're poor, you play sports.
Yeah.
Everyone else got a PlayStation. I was like, I got a ball, and I've got 4 other kids who don't have a PlayStation.
So
let's go run 21 right now.
Let's jump into your childhood. So, did you spend all of your childhood in San Antonio, or
split,
how did that work?
Split. So when my dad passed, we were in San Antonio, and then I lived a couple of years in the Philippines because my dad had bought the house, and the house was kind of taken care of through something I didn't fully understand as a child. Okay. But it allowed my mom to not work and not be home physically.
That's awesome.
So we went to the Philippines to be with that family because I don't have family in the United States.
Okay.
Other than my wife and my own kid, and then chosen family. But as far as like my dad's biological side, as soon as he passed away, they cut me and my mom out.
Oh,
completely. And I try to be like, well, maybe it's me. Maybe I've reached out.
Yeah.
I've tried. I knew the moment that it was not they're too busy was when I graduated from high school. And then I saw it's in the Alamo Dome. It's huge. And every kid has about like 10 to 20 people there because it's a big moment.
How big was the school if you're doing it?
It's like 1,000, 1,200 kids.
Holy shit.
Yeah,
okay.
It's Texas. It's Texas. Do not forget, this is right after No Child Left Behind. This is George Bush. These are fancy Texas schools.
Gotcha.
The Pope came to this school. Right? I am not even kidding you. John, you can look this up. John Paul Stevens.
Okay.
The Pope visited the school because his name's John Paul.
Shit.
Yeah, it's a fun. There's a rock with like
San Antonio.
Yeah, San Antonio. John Paul Stevens.
John Paul Stevens.
With Pope visit. Yeah, with the V.
Okay.
Big school, man.
Okay. And then the Pope came around to visit
he
y'all.
christened the land.
Shit,
and
dude. That's fucking wild.
Yeah, so Alamo Dome, big graduation.
And family just didn't show up.
Just my mom was there, my stepdad. And I'm like, these are my family. I knew that. But it was like, I'm not going to spend any more time wondering, waiting, trying to call out. I got family in the Philippines. I'm still close with them. I still talk to them, who's still around. Like, my mom's going back to the Philippines in December. But I spent most of my life in San Antonio. I only spent a few years there just to be with my family there. Yeah.
When you were in high school, you said there's sports going on. Was there an interest in comedy at that point?
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah. So, I had wanted to be an NBA player. And then high school happened. I was like, I'm 5'5". So maybe I should divert.
You better be fast.
Yeah, well, I tried to be. And then
you can drink that by way if you want.
Oh, thank you. Freshman year, I worked all summer and I made our varsity team my freshman year.
Nice.
And then I broke my ankle.
Not nice.
Not nice at all. Yeah, and if you know anything about competitive like football, like if your 40 times shaves by like 2 seconds or so, it's a big difference.
Fuck. Yeah.
So it's like, oh, well, there goes any edge I had being 5'5". It was speed. It was like, because you can train speed.
Yeah.
You don't have to be born with speed. You can just keep hitting the parachutes, keep hitting the cuts, and eventually, at least in the high school level, you can get yourself to a prominent position.
Yeah.
And that was my whole plan for just the summer. I got, they did a flex camp thing where they were picking a king of the day. There were seniors, and I got it as a freshman. I was ready.
Hell yeah.
Broke my ankle. I was in theater, and I liked it. I liked performing. I still needed attention. I was an attention-hungry kid.
Us military kids can be.
Oh, yeah. And then I made the play with a broken leg that I auditioned with.
Oh, shit.
And I was like, well, this director's pretty cool. And I had a Texas coach who was not very cool about me. Because I got broken, he was like, just talking shit. Just like talking shit like, oh, you're all fucking slow now. I'm like, I don't think you can talk to me that way, man. Yeah. My theater teacher asked me about how I was feeling today. So I think I'm going to go to the black box today.
Yeah.
So he was really cool. Shout out to Jose de Hoyos being an amazing theater teacher. But he took me in freshman year, and then I became a thespian.
Nice.
And then somewhere in that, I always loved stand-up, making jokes, but it became like, what kind of performer do you want to be?
Uh-huh.
And it was like stand-up. I don't want to be an actor. I don't want to like learn these lines. I want to find a way to express my story, because I learned kind of about America from stand-up, which is maybe not the best way to learn.
Yeah.
But I had a mom who didn't speak a lot of English, who was new to the country. Mm-hmm. I wanted to know about the country, and parents weren't really. I didn't really have anyone to talk to or other people to talk to. Mm-hmm. So I took heed in other comics who would explain the world to me. Yeah. And I one comic that, because there weren't a lot of Filipino or Asian comics.
Yeah,
at
Joe
the time.
Coy wasn't on the scene yet.
No, so I had to relate to comics like Chris Rock.
Okay.
Chris Rock really helped me kind of feel that there was a voice, because he talked about being poor.
Yeah.
That's what I related to. He talked about growing up with an angry mother.
Yeah.
Tough family. Like, those were the things that I related to. Okay. And it seemed at the time when I was growing up with it, no other kid was dealing with that. Because that's how it feels like for every kid.
Yeah, that you're the only one.
I also didn't have a lot of friends with dead dads. So like, finding adults who were making jokes about stuff that I was told, well, I should be crying about, made me feel like I want to be that guy. And I want to do that for a kid somewhere. Someday, somehow, want to bring some joy to something that could potentially be something you're actually very upset about and you're very angry about. And I realize that people will only truly listen to me as if I'm making them laugh. Yeah. Because I've tried to get angry, and again, 5'5", so that's usually the response I get. A pat on the head.
He's so cute.
Exactly. And I'm like, well, if I can make you laugh and like me, maybe you'll hear what I have to say.
Yeah.
And very few times, and it doesn't happen often, but the few times that it has, I've had Filipino moms or Asian Americans come up to me after my shows and tell me, hey, thank you. I feel seen.
Yeah.
And I was like, hey, man, that I didn't expect to happen.
I love when comedy does that. For me, it was Christopher Titus.
I love Titus, man.
I was going through some really dark times before I found him. And then, like, what the hell is his name?
Retard is one of my favorite characters.
No, it's Norman Rockwell's Bleeding.
Oh, listen to it on repeat.
Yes. Yeah. If you listen to that, you're like, oh my God, this is really dark stuff, but it's hilarious.
Yeah.
It pulled me right out of my shit. So like, I love that you're trying to expose dark stuff, but you're also trying to empower the listener too.
Yeah.
Is like, once I heard Christopher Titus, do that shit, I'm like, oh wow, like I can get through my stuff through humor. And I love that you're doing that, hopefully for other kids, man. That's fantastic.
Well, just anyone who wants to laugh and wants to get out of talking about the things that they don't have answers for. Because I don't have answers. And sometimes that's funny enough, just to be somebody who's also cluelessly trying to figure things out.
I think for you specifically, too. So we can relate being military kids together. However, like you have a distinct trajectory with yours, because again, you said your mom wasn't able to speak English well at the time.
Gotten better.
Like, there you go. It's we still have a different experience though, because like, okay, we definitely involve everybody. Like, all right, cool, hang out with the black kid, hang out with the Mexican, all that stuff. Yeah. But you still, at the end of the day, when you go off base, you're still dealing with the local Texas population that might not be used to the Filipino kid. Like,
and I also felt it was odd because it was San Antonio specifically and Filipino specifically, because I would get confused for Hispanic a lot. Mm-hmm. And
a lot of Spanish getting spoken.
Well, here's the thing. Racism, surely it does exist, but I don't think it is that bad for Mexicans in San Antonio. Because every Hispanic guy I knew, I got along with, man. They were pretty, like, I swear I have heard the sentence like, yeah, I'm a racist, but damn Boehner. Like, I'm like, you can't, just because you say something nice about them at the end, I mean, but it's baffling. So,
yeah, that disqualifier doesn't work.
Exactly. So I'd be in a weird position where I could tell someone was being nice to me, and they thought I was Hispanic. Mm-hmm. But I was like, do I correct them? Because I know that you also probably hate other races.
Yeah.
And I don't know where on the roulette wheel I'm going to fall. Usually, and this is, okay, so it's not really hate that I've experienced. I have, but that's not. What I want to explain, is the number one experience I have is kind of a pity. There's kind of like oh, you're Filipino. Oh, what was you? You must have come from such a tough background. And I did, but not all of us did.
Yeah.
Not all of us are these, you must came from nothing. Some of us, there are some very rich Filipinos out there.
Yeah.
Okay. I visited my friend Sean. He had a 2-story house in every Jordan in the world.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, because his dad was a general in the Air Force or something, you know?
Hell yeah.
A lot of military in the Philippines, a lot of medical in Filipinos. We're not doing as bad as everyone thinks. But I have had the experience of when people meet me to treat me with softer hands, or treat my mother, especially my mother, with softer hands. Mm-hmm. And it's like, she's been in this country now for...
Where do you think that comes from? The level of sympathy or what have you? Do you think it's because it is a third world country?
I think that comes from Hollywood, man, 100%, because we were depicted, most Asian Americans were depicted as the weak punchline. And then you're like, well, that kid grows up, and he's probably still that weak. That race is represented as weakness. They tried to, in Hollywood, represent us as weakness. For the longest time. And then it became this message of poverty. We were struggling, and then they showed images of America is better. Look at overseas, how things are over there. And then it became, oh, well, their parents are strict, so you must have been raised in a strict house. There's just so many things where it's like, well, some of us were just raised listening to, like, Tupac. Some of us were just normal 90s children who were living in suburbs, who had the same education, had the same experiences. Some of us were just as embarrassed as their parents were. It's not as different, but we get treated like, oh, you must have had just other planet experience.
They're treating you like a child soldier.
Yeah.
Like, you had such a child.
And I'm like, I had about the same experience as any other child who, it's still full of trauma. But American trauma.
Yes.
And that's the thing that I think, it's not hate. It's not like, oh, we hate you. Mm-hmm. It's, oh, let me do that for you because there's no way you could handle that. That's what it is. Okay. It's oh, you must want to be a nurse. No, they want to be a doctor. You're already assuming that we want to be the help role. And that comes from, even now that they were trying and they almost hit the mark. And it is a good show. The Maid.
Okay.
It's a story about a Filipino maid who's trying to, like, keep her kids in the country. And it's very good. Very good and compelling.
Okay.
My thing is, like, damn, couldn't we just, like, have a Filipino person who's just, like, I don't know.
Just chill.
Like a student? Like, do they have to, like, God, yes, there are some maids. There are some nurses. And it is a majority. But we just watched Man with a Plan. And there's a guy who's just a dad. And his kids are Filipino. And he's Filipino. But they don't mention it. I know it. They say a little Tagalog. Cool. And I was like, that's all we...
Do you speak Tagalog?
Ako Gabalog Gamelan. And that is enough to impress whoever out there. I can get around,
In the military, deployments, if you know Tagalog, you're going to get the hookup. Is a lot of our cooks and everything.
I think I know it until I meet a native. And then
he's like, nope.
Because there's dialects, too. There's Ilocano. There's Visayan, there's other dialect depending on the region. Okay. So now I'll have to, like, pull out a map and be like, so my mom's from here. Where are you from? Oh, see, we didn't cross. That's why we don't know.
Is it so distinct that it's difficult to even understand?
No, it's worse because it's subtle. So I'll be speaking fluently with someone for like 10 minutes, and then I'll say something that they won't understand.
Really?
Because it's like one word or two words, and that just... I'm not very educated enough to understand the differences. I know that there are times, though, that I have full confidence at something in what I think is Tagalog, and then them look at me like, I think you're being offensive. And I'm like, no. I'm like, no, I am Filipino. Like, it feels weird. It's a weird experience. But, sorry about that. I think the language is something that is becoming more popular. I saw an example of it in the new show about, it was like the Office style in the hospital that just came out on NBC.
Okay. Haven't heard that one.
It's pretty good, pretty funny. Cannot remember the name of it for the life of me. Brand new. But there's Filipino characters in that speaking Tagalog. And he's a doctor, and that feels good.
Nice.
There's also just a dad who just spoke it. There are certain times where certain characters, like they had it in Lucifer. Yeah,
nice.
Lucifer, he speaks very fluent Tagalog, and I'm like, that's all we want.
Like the actual Lucifer character?
Yeah, Lucifer himself, Morningstar in the later season.
Does he have a connection back to the Philippines? Or
they meet a Filipino character, and because he's the devil, he knows every language. You know?
Okay. So I guess he practiced that a lot.
Hey, I'm glad that they showed it, because when minorities say we want to be seen in Hollywood, and I get it, because yeah, there were times where I'm like, hey, I am just now noticing I am the sidekick in every movie. Like, I want to relate to Brad, but it seems like Brad was mean to me in 2 scenes ago. Like, I don't know if I want to be nice to Brad.
I want to start my own team.
Yeah, like Breakfast Club, I was like, which one am I? Because Molly Ringwald knows Asians. I've seen Pretty in Pink, but we don't get detention. So I guess I'm the nerd. I guess I'm him. So we wanted that. We wanted representation, and I understand that. But what we didn't want was, forced representation.
Yeah.
All we want is it naturally seen, or just more Asian actors to get more opportunities.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that's being seen, because there was moments in Hollywood that, there were brown face.
Yeah.
Things that happened on that end. And there are a lot of times where Filipinos had to play Hispanic, and that's okay. Cool.
Yeah, I think I forget what was it Homeland or some shit? Like legitimate Arab, like Muslim people didn't play the terrorists. It was usually like a Mexican dude, Filipino dude. Like.
Yeah. And you want to know why people get mad at anime adaptations? I'm going to tell everyone now. Start putting Asian. That's what they were drawn as. You don't know the eyes. The anime eyes are Asian eyes, guys. All right. If they're little dots, those are white eyes. We don't draw those. We don't take the time to make the beautiful, glorious Sailor Moon eyes unless they are Asian eyes. So cast Asian people in your anime remakes, because they're going to do great. They're going to do fantastic. Okay? And take your time with them. Take your time telling good stories.
So, you're in drama class.
Yeah.
Did you start to try to do stand-up in high school, or was that something you did after?
I tried to write an act. And I wrote one opening, like, soft thing in my head, and I couldn't. I was like, it's bad. Fix it. And I couldn't fix it. It was something playing on, like, seniors and senior citizens. Okay. And I couldn't wrap it without, like, doing something with a dick or something. And I was like, I'm not ready for stand-up. I need to learn how to talk to people. I'm clearly not good without a script.
This was actually you trying?
Like, this was me trying to write something for the talent show. And I was trying to write up. I was like, well, you got to audition. So instead what I did is write poetry. And that actually made it. I ended up in the talent show for that, because it turns out, fuck you. It is easier to write poetry than jokes. All right?
It is.
It is easier to rhyme, crime, time, slime than make somebody laugh after they want to kill themselves at 8 a.m. All right? Like,
yes.
Fuck you. Like, there's amazing poetry. I'm not trying to knock the really good ones, but you can also kind of phone it in. And
as long as you're rhyming and you keep a rhythm, it's easier than trying to.
I knew that when I learned what a haiku was in the 2nd grade. I was like, oh, it's just the syllables and it counts?
Yep.
They're like, anything counts. And I was like, this seems very loose.
So did you actually go to the talent show tryouts with stand-up material?
No, I bailed on it. So that was like the first, like, oh, maybe I want to do it. And then I went about 2 years working at a restaurant called Dick's Last Resort, where you get to be rude to people. Okay. And I was like, this will let me teach me how to do, like, crowd work and how to, like, be comfortable. Because my whole job is to be now a character that I'm not normally, while still maintaining entertainment. And I thought it would be a good step to me breaking out of my shell. I've taken very small steps. And then after that, 2 years passed, and I went through a breakup of sorts that made me go, oh, I don't I don't want to rely on relationships anymore. There's a moment where every man should have that, where like I want to rely on me.
Yeah.
I want to do something for me and just chase it full send.
I think I'm actually in that process right now.
I'm
in my late 30s.
Hey man,
for fucking ever.
There are some people who never hit it.
Yeah.
They never hit it, and I say people, not men, because codependency. That's not. I don't want to think anyone should be ashamed if you find yourself in a moment of codependency. We all want love and we want to share experiences, but at some point, you gotta love you, and it took me wanting to give all the love and giving all the love to another person, and then knowing like she did nothing wrong, but she knew it wasn't a right fit. And years of retrospect, I'm like, it was nothing wrong. I needed to focus on me, and I'm glad I did. And it wasn't until I finally started to do that I was ready to date, because I know it's a cliche, but you can't have anyone love you if you don't love you. That's just. It seems very basic, but it is basic because it's that fucking simple.
Yeah.
If you have some shit that you don't like about you, confront it, come to terms, take the time.
Yeah.
All right? That person's out there waiting, but they're not going to love you, and you won't love them if you're not loving you. So that's that. But I was like, I'm tired of making excuses. It was all excuses. I was 24. And I was like, I need to leave the city. I need to get clear.
At San Antonio?
Okay. Yeah. I need to leave the city, and I actually need to start fresh. So I took the money that I had, ended up with a Craigslist roommate, and moved to Colorado to pursue comedy.
Okay.
Because I knew that Comedy Works was down here, and there was an improv in Denver. And I was like, I'm going to get good in the Springs. I'm going to get good. And then I'm going to try to get seen. So I made the choice to move in the Springs because I was like, they got a B club, and San Antonio has B clubs too. So I knew what the B club's for. If you're not aware what a B club or what the purpose of B clubs are as comics, they're very important. That's where you grow. Okay, that's where you get your shit tight. Unless you've got some fucking amazing God-given talent, gift to you, whatever.
Yeah.
If you want to work on it, go to the B clubs. Work. So I moved to the Springs with the intention of like, I'm going to get seen at the B club. I'm going to start working there. I'm going to get good. And then I started getting some traction right before COVID. I mean, I have every fucking time I tell this story, they're like, "Oh," I'm like, "Yeah, I know." How do you think I felt? Because I remember looking at my calendar, and it was literally every weekend and date was filled. I was about to open for like Ari Spears at Denver Improv. Like things were like starting to pick up, and then COVID hit, and it made, I think, me and every other comic who was in that stage where I was, where you weren't truly doing it, but you were 1 foot. You're like, hey, if you're gonna get out, this is your chance.
Yeah.
If you want to leave, no one's gonna judge you at this point. But if you do it, you're doing it because you love to do it, because the world's ending. Yeah. There's no like you're doing this because the future. You're doing this solely because you love to do this.
Yeah.
Are you still gonna do stand up?
Yeah.
That's what the question was asked. And I remember Eric from Looney's calling me. He's like, I got a gig in Salida.
Nice.
It was like somewhere in the back end of the summer. And it was also the moment where I knew my wife was going to be my wife, because I answer the phone, I take the gig. I didn't have a car at the time. So I just say yes. Because I'm like, yeah, I want to tell jokes, man. I got to tell jokes. I just say yes. I take the gig. And I'm like, oh, fuck. I don't have a way to get there. So then I go to her and I'm like, can I use your car? And she, yes. No question, not even a moment.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, and I was like, okay, you're my ride or die. You're 100%. I will fight lions for you. Like, that's for sure what's gonna happen. I do have to get to this gig first, but and it was a great gig. And it made me it was the moment I was like, shit, I'm gonna be a comic forever.
Hell yeah.
I could go to like auditions, because I tried to be an actor. I did for a moment. I went on auditions. I did a small college video on the dangers of heart disease.
Really?
Yeah, it was talent number 3. It was great. I told my mom, don't eat so many eggs. It was so good. 15-day shoot, dude.
Holy
yeah, I got paid for that thing. It was
wow.
Pretty cool. St. Mary's, you owe me You owe me a thanks.
15 days.
But I knew, I was like, if you want to do art, there's other ways of doing it now. This is your out. Stand-up is probably the worst choice. And then it was like, well, it's going to change. And then you saw it change, and now it's different. I think stand-up for the moment of after COVID to today, they're two completely different beasts. The before COVID is a different beast. It's constantly evolving. But I know the constant is, I'll constantly want to be involved in comedy.
Yeah. I think with COVID, too, we also had cancel culture hit, second year of COVID? That's when Louis took his hit. That's when they were trying to cancel Rogan. They were trying to cancel Chappelle.
Look, I have a weird belief on cancel culture, and the thing is
well, it's made stand-up stronger. Is cancel culture has its place.
That's kind of like, I'm not against it. I feel like, hey, if people are now just watching your stuff with a lens, polish it.
Yeah.
That's how I saw it. It was like, okay, so there are a lot of things that I did as takeaway laughs that I can probably get better at.
Yeah.
There are probably things that I can do that are, problematic that I can fix. Or maybe I'm benefiting off of a system that I'm not aware I'm benefiting off of.
Yeah.
And take stock into that. So there were definitely moments where I'm like, okay, I'm glad this kind of happened now before I had any real career or anything. Because now I can approach it with hindsight. Like, I mean, I've never had anything to worry about being canceled, so that's why I was like, I don't really have a problem with cancel culture.
I think if you're not a piece of shit, when the cancel culture comes knocking, you're like, hey, I'm just kind of going stuff.
Because that's the thing. Yeah. Even people who have
your character is going to speak for you more than your material. Is when they put you under that microscope and they're like, okay, how are we about to destroy this person? If you were a good person the entire time that happened to say a problematic joke, I think you're going to push through it. I think with Shane Gillis, boy, they were looking for his fucking head. But at the end of the day, it's like, okay, this is a killer comedian. Really haven't found too much dark shit in his past.
I feel there's so much more politics with that Shane Gillis thing.
Yeah.
I don't know why people messaged me about it. They were like, how do you feel about it? And I was like, he's hilarious. What do you want me to do? Call him? I don't know.
Hey, man.
Thanks. What did you said some mean things about some Asians. Yeah. I don't know, man. I feel that there was a whole lot more when it comes to the level of Hollywood, when it comes to especially Saturday Night Live, a platform that probably has more influence than people give it credit for.
Yeah. People might be burnt out on SNL, but it's still...
and I don't want to take anything from Bowen Yang, because I do like Bowen Yang. I think he's hilarious. Mm-hmm. But I do think that you have to look at maybe Bowen Yang had more potential to bring more revenue to Saturday Night Live versus that's maybe how they looked at it. Hey, you have two sides we can take on this.
Yeah.
Because you have an Asian cast member around the same time as Shane Gillis. You keep Shane Gillis on. It looks like
they came in the same season.
Around the same exactly. They got at the same time they were hired on. Mm-hmm. So it looked like, hey, if you side with Shane, it's gonna look like you're
against.
Yeah. Again, and that's not what it is at all. What it comes down to is the bottom dollar. And then the moment Shane started making his own money, they're like, well, we can make a little more money off of you now. And they're like, we'll put you at host. And people will tune in, and we'll still be able to save face because we'll look like they never lost money.
Yeah.
That's the bottom thing.
The trajectory of Shane is crazy because, the week that they're like, hey, Shane's not coming in, okay, we'll probably never hear about this guy ever again. He's literally the modern,
Shane's been doing comedy for 10 years.
Yeah.
And I remember listening to him.
I thought he hit that ceiling, and that was forever where he's going to be. He's got a whole new ceiling. It's when you're dealing with Rogan on a daily basis, and Tony Hinchcliffe, that stuff. He's literally in the pantheon of.
Well, I think it comes to what you were saying with cancel culture making you polish your material, because there were a lot of comics who deserved to be canceled, and those who didn't, who got attacked, they came out stronger because you can't break steel, baby. You know what I mean? There are certain comics that are going to make people laugh. And someone brought up a good point with there was something he did where he had made it was a Fox News joke. He had said Fox News and everybody booed. And he was like, my dad's a Fox News guy. And then everybody laughed.
Yeah.
Because it's like, yeah, they may not agree with Fox News, but that's not what he is. That's not what Shane is.
Yeah.
Shane isn't the face of Fox News. He's telling you about his experiences in a conservative family.
Yeah.
And that's what conservatives relate to him. Like, everyone's trying to tie him with a group or tie a comic.
That's the thing. He's so ambiguous in
He's
his political. Yeah. He does definitely have his father as a qualifier to, like, the Fox world.
Yeah.
But again, he's an individual that also has.
And I think that is being lost a lot with comics today is they're becoming brands. What's your brand? What brand do you represent?
Yeah.
And then it becomes, well, if you're hanging out with Rogan, now you're with Rogan's brand. And it's like, no, he's always been Shane Gillis.
Yeah.
And that's his. But when comics hang out with other comics, not everyone agrees, but now you become a collective brand for some reason. You end up on Andrew Schultz's podcast. Now everyone's like, you're going to say some controversial stuff? Like,
Yeah.
I don't think so. I don't think that he just had me on to talk, you know? Mm-hmm. I think that needs to be removed. Comics used to be looked at as individuals instead of a collective. And that also comes with cancel. Like, one comic gets canceled. Now it's like, hey, every comic is out there being judged in the same light as every comic. And it did not used to be that way.
Yeah.
I'm not calling for segregation or anything, but like, yeah, separate me from everyone else.
Yeah.
Because that's where the polishing of your act comes in, and where I'm like, I feel gray about cancel culture because keep doing it. Mm-hmm. Because if I am a good comic, I'll be there at the end of it.
Yeah.
My act will stand out. It'll be unique enough that I'll be there at the end.
Comedy is such a weird one to bring cancel culture through. Is we're a community of people that are trying to find where the edge is at and play with that edge, because that's where you're most likely to get a spontaneous laugh.
Yeah.
When you look at the art, then you look at the individual. It's like, okay, cancel culture could be difficult to because there's.
But see,
really
that's such a
people.
simplification of like the edge. Like, I agree, higher stakes, higher laughs.
Yeah.
But that's just one angle to it.
But to judge the comedian strictly by just their material, when the entire art is to play with that.
Yeah.
Like, you have to go, okay, is this a good person? Do we give him permission to play with the edges?
Yeah.
If you're a shithead, you're doing questionable shit with women, you're just really bad people things, and now you're playing with the edge, like, oh, you're a shitty person doing shitty things, like,
and
get
that's
the fuck
why
out of here.
I like to gauge people if they're whether or not they're Eric Andre fans.
Yeah.
Because if anyone is an Eric Andre fan, you understand that is a character.
Yeah.
And he is separate from that person. So to watch that and go and understand what he's doing, what edge he's pushing, and how he's doing it, I'm like, all right, cool. So you understand that type of comedy. But if you look at Eric Andre and go, I don't get what he's doing, he's just yelling. He's like, no, the comedy is the tension.
Yeah. And
he's in control of it, and that's why it's funny, because he is a masterful puppet of tension.
Yeah.
And tension is that edge we're talking about. That how much can we increase that tension, because the moment the comic relieves it, that's the magic trick. That's the ta-da. Now, a lot of times comics have just been building the tension, and then they leave it still a little tense. It's like, hey, you didn't ta-da. I need a ta-da.
We need the release.
Yeah, please, even if it's just goodbye. But it also doesn't help that the comics are constantly being heard and talked to. Like, you used to be like, all right, I hear what you say for an hour. You ta-da, and then I'm done until you're ready to give me another ta-da.
Yep.
But now they're just like, I gotta come in and just constantly.
I gotta get my social media. I gotta do my podcast.
Yeah, and I'll admit I'm not great with it, but I've recently found, I think, a way moving forward on how to not sell the farm or sell my soul. Because that's another problem as comics that we have, because it used to be, all right, if I do release this hour, that hour is burned, but now I have time. No one's watching me under a microphone, like a microscope. When's your next 5? Like, it's you have time to do it. I'm gonna keep playing that hour for new audiences while I'm writing that. Like, there was time, and that initially was why I love comedy, because it was an art form you could truly take your time with.
Yeah.
And if you do something memorable, like there was John Leguizamo's Pest, his one-man show. Man, that made me go, oh, man, look what you can do by your like look what's possible.
Yeah.
There's Jim Gaffigan. I was like, look at clean comedy. How I'm splitting. Like you can.
He
look
is
what you can do with voice.
One of the best.
Patrice O'Neill. I was like, look at what you can do with controlling that audience. You can control them.
Yeah.
You can control them and not be like I don't know. There's certain things you learn from them, but you learn it in that hour. Mm-hmm. And then after that, you don't go like, well, how do you make a sandwich? And I got to judge you on how you do that now. Yeah. How do you also like have interpersonal relationships? Like, I got to judge you on that. Are you good with women? Like, no, they're good at the 1 hour of things that they told you they were good at. And that's what they were there for. Hey, for this hour, I'm going to talk to you about so, and so.
Yeah.
That's what I've worked on. I've thought of these thoughts. Judge me on these thoughts. That's why I'm here. Anything beyond that, I still got to think it out.
Yeah.
And that's...
I am curious, like, what George Carlin would have been like in the modern era. Would George Carlin have been unbearable on his podcast? Would he have done a podcast? How was his social media?
Man, I think he would have been a comic. It's the same thing with Brody Stevens. You know, it's just like he was just like one of those like every comic knew him, every comic loved him, but I don't think he like would have been big to the end. And that's the thing I think with Carlin. We would have all been like, we would have known Carlin. We would have heard his stuff.
So I've heard from
people. Or like
people,
Dave Attell too. Like he's still.
I don't know how Attell's not doing a fucking podcast. Like
because
everybody wants to be up.
I think I think Attell's the Zen fucking Buddha, man. I think that dude gets it.
Yeah.
Because why do a podcast? Is he happy? That's the question, right?
Yeah.
Like, you want to know why isn't he doing a podcast? Is he happy? Because that's probably why he's not doing a podcast. He's probably having a shot with some guy at 2 a.m. And that is happiness.
Well, it seems Attell is so focused on the art of stand-up. He doesn't see the use of having a podcast.
And that's exactly what...
I'm curious, though, with Carlin, because he's been a social commentator. He was a social commentator pretty much from, I'd say, the early 80s. Because, like, early Carlin was just goofy comic stuff, but he eventually switched over to that social commentary.
Yeah.
I'm curious if he would have done a podcast and if it would have been unbearable. Would he have been the because you have guys like what Nick DiPaolo.
Well, Mark Maron has a podcast and it's not unbearable.
And that's what I'm saying.
That's not unbearable.
But like you have guys like Nick DiPaolo who his podcast is unbearable because he only talks politics 24/7. Yeah. I love Nick DiPaolo.
I used to like Bill Maher when I was younger. Yeah. But then I was like, I can take you in a dose. Not doses. A dose.
That's how it's weird is I absolutely love Bill Burr.
Yeah.
I can't listen to the Monday morning podcast day in and day out. So
I'll admit, Bill Burr, too much, like few hours, the accent. It's the Boston accent, I think.
For me, the Monday morning podcast turned into a bitch fest one too many times. I'm like, all right, I'm going to wait for your special to come out where it's just distilled
But it's
comedy.
also the idea of listening to any one thing for hours every so often. Like, I listen to a lot of podcasts that are like 4 to 5 people.
Wow.
Like, last podcast on the left, I listened to that. That was one of my number ones, and that's like a team of 4 guys. But every once in a while, there's like cast members rotate, so I'm getting new voices and new opinions and new characters. Keeps it fresh.
Yeah.
Numbers on the board. It's a basketball podcast. 4 dudes, different personalities. But I tried doing Mark Maron's podcast, and eventually you started being like, am I thinking like Mark Maron? Am I just like biasly?
Hey, get the fuck out of here.
Yeah, I was like, I don't even think I'm this mad at this bar, but I've been listening to Maron for the last week, and now everything pisses me off. Yeah. So it's like, I don't know. I don't think anyone's supposed to just hear the opinions of any one person for too long.
Yeah.
And then stand-up was never supposed to be that.
Yeah.
That was never supposed to be.
And that's why I like with Carlin's every 2 years he came out. Yeah. Cool, here's my ideas, and then he fucking disappeared.
And then you have other comics who I think towards the end, felt the burnout because they were expected to do more. I mean, you look at also Robin Williams.
Yeah.
Goddamn, that one hurt. That one hurt.
That one is so weird because to this day, we're at the end of 2024. Yeah. If I see a post of his face, a video, like what have you, it feels like a family member that I lost.
And the thing is, it really did introduce the topic of like checking on the happy people because you expect them to be that happy. If someone would have just been like, "You can cry, dude."
Yeah.
like in his own moment. And I'm sure maybe some people did, but if it was stressed more publicly as a...
Well, Robbins is really weird. A lot of people, they're like, oh, he was the sad clown. His wife at the time actually released a documentary that he wasn't the sad clown. It was, he was going through Lewy syndrome. It's some kind of multiple MS.
Oh, shit.
And the problem with this specific MS is he wasn't just losing like control of his body, he was also losing part of his like memory and stuff. So he was starting to near the end, it really started picking up to the point where he's like, I'm no longer the person that you guys know me as. I'm not the 80s Robin Williams. I'm now atrophying at a rate that like I don't know if I'm going to be here mentally, because like he didn't want to be like Muhammad Ali. Like most people our age know Muhammad Ali is the guy that was wheelchair bound, where like Robin Williams didn't want to have that. He didn't want to be the comic.
And I wonder with Carlin, when with a microscope, like constantly, as you mentioned, you know, because Robin Williams, he wanted to be the 80s Robin Williams.
Yeah.
Do you think at some point maybe Carlin would have wanted to be the prophet that we were all, you know, because that he's been claimed as, you know, on social media, like he's a prophet. He knew everything, you know, and that's a big set of shoes to fill.
Near the end, he did interviews with like Jon Stewart because he was starting to hit like his 30th and 40th year in comedy.
Yeah.
That conversation was happening to George in his lifetime. It's like, hey, you're known as like the biggest name ever. He handled it well. He's like, he didn't want to be known as this huge prolific thing. He just wanted to be known as like somebody observing the world around him. He didn't really struggle with that. I think with Robin, you might have had that a little bit more. He didn't want to be put on a pedestal.
But I think that also the quality of what Carlin, I think Carlin may have had some misses if he was.
I have heard from people that actually were alive during Carlin's time. If you saw George Carlin more than once, you saw George Carlin bomb. He threw stuff out there so rapidly, and he didn't give a shit.
And there are so many times where I've seen comics where I'm like, I think this is amazing, but this is not your night. And thank God not every single set is recorded and put under.
But those are the best among us. Is like, I hate to put this out here, like Callan Reese, one of the best comics on the scene right now. If you've seen Callan at least 4 or 5 times in an open mic, you've seen him just completely.
No, 100%. Me and him will have long conversations about just trying some new shit out.
I wish I had the balls. That's like Callan. If you are watching this, I wish I had the balls that he did. I'm so self-conscious that I'm going to bomb on stage that I'm never really going to succeed. Where Callan, he gets up there fucking every week like, hey, let's see what sticks.
It comes down to am I getting paid? Do I owe this person the best that I can do, or do I have some leeway?
Well, is this a fun? So it's understood. Hey, we're gonna fall on our ass here to figure out where the funny's at.
100%. And that's sometimes a problem with comics that don't go to mics because they don't have time to. We have to try to fit new stuff in, you know, a gig that we are getting paid for. And it's like, man, we gotta just, like what Colin said, just throw it out there and try. Or even, you know, it works at the open mic and you've tried it, but it's not gonna work until you've done what Colin done and just thrown that shit out there in a full room, paid or not paid, just see if it sticks.
Yeah.
Because, you know, that's like I recently just did a weekend with Mike Hammock, and I added a whole like 20-second bit just off the cuff that I had written, like on my way in there. I had thought about it, and I was like, I'm gonna do it. Screw it, the rest of the act is solid. I'm gonna do it because Callan had been giving me shit for like 2 weeks, and it's now it's one of my new favorite bits in the entire act.
Hell yeah!
And I'm probably gonna write a sketch about it. The whole thing is that Asians can't be in Back to the Future because there's certain eras we can't time travel to. Like, it's not just like don't see your mom. It's like also don't see government officials during like. There's a whole lot of.
Well, they went back to the 50s, I believe, wasn't it?
That was not an accurate description.
That was not a good time.
No, I was worried about 1889, and you're going to give me a pickaxe. And you're like, this country will be ours, but you'll build.
You guys got a railroad to build.
Yeah, exactly. Or even worse, like, to be the guy who has to fight Genghis Khan, not knowing that's, like, the first village.
Yeah.
Like, oh, man, I don't know who this Genghis guy is, but I hope he's not a threat. Oh, he's going to be the biggest threat.
He's spreading that seed like Johnny.
100%. There's so many times where an Asian American cannot time travel. People do not talk about the white privilege of time travel, but it is pretty carte blanche for you guys.
Wherever you want to go.
I can go to the actual future. I think I can. He can be like, Marty, you can go to 18,005. Yeah. That'll be good. Then I'll be building space railroads. That'll be because we stayed in school. That's why.
You're gonna take over the whole world.
Hey, the meek will inherit the earth, and if there's not anything more meek than the Filipino people. Look, we have an underground base under the islands of the Philippines. Let's start this conspiracy now.
I like it.
Let's just start it. We're actually the biggest threat the world can have. I want people to start taking Filipinos seriously, and I think this is how we do it.
I like it.
Let's start the rumor that there is an underground base under the Philippines that is capable of taking on but we're just waiting. We're just waiting. We're chill. Like, it's fallout bunkers, but we're just chill. We're just nice people. So just don't be mean to us. Treat us good.
It's the crouching Filipino, hidden dragon, whatever.
It's just a crouching neighbor, hidden anesthesiologist. We've already taken over. Actually, we're waiting. We're just waiting.
You know what's crazy? Filipinos outnumber Qataris in their own country 4-1.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
That's
if you've been to Qatar, you've seen more Filipinos than Qataris in their own country.
I think that's really cool. That's a cool fact. I think that we're definitely spreading. And now aside from the joke, there has been more Filipino culture that I've seen recently. Mm-hmm. I don't know if it's my algorithm, though.
The problem with Qatar, though, is they're questionable as fuck. They advertise in the Philippines, come work for us. Their immigration policy is once the Filipino shows up, they take their passport, and then they're not able to work anywhere else without the permission of the host.
And I can just see my mom falling for some shit like that.
Sketch is
let me just hold it for you, and then okay, and then damn that. Oof.
They hosted a FIFA World Cup a couple years ago.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, the stadium's almost exclusively Filipino labor, and if you've worked in Qatar, it's not. You might as well work on the surface of the sun. It is so fucking hot out there.
Absolutely. I do agree that I do not agree. I understand that certain places are going to be hotter. I mean, again, this is my dumb showing. Why not just more ACs, guys?
So they have some of the world's largest air conditioners in Qatar.
Put them on the streets, man.
They
make it a dome. Just dome it off. Make it all indoors.
But then it's the humidity.
I don't know, man. I don't know what we got to do, but when I go to the Philippines, I pass out immediately. It's bad. It's so hot.
They say by 2050, parts of Saudi Arabia will be uninhabitable.
Yeah, I get it.
It's so
and I understand equator science math, that part. The dumb, again, showing what can we do?
Get the fuck out of the country.
That's all, and it's partially greenhouse gases, I'm guessing, and just an immense amount of people just been in a packed room. It gets hotter, and they get packed the country.
To a cooler part of the world.
There are parts just filled with ice that I feel like if we just take enough people, we'll meet in the middle. We'll body thaw, but then we got to get place for the penguins. I don't know. Yeah. There are a bunch of ice animals. You guys are fucking next. All right? We have taken over all the warm and lukewarm places. Ice animals, you're screwed. We're hunting polar bears next season. God, that's going to be where the future is headed if we can't figure out how to cool things down. We know how to heat things up. We know very well how to heat things up.
Well, what's ironic is the things that cool stuff down actually are bad for the environment and then heat stuff up. If you want to make the world hotter...
It's the snake. It's the Ouroboros tail. It's just we're eating ourselves constantly.
Go break your air conditioning. Let that gas escape. That gas is bad for the environment.
Oh, well, I can't do that because also being sweaty is bad for my sheets. Yeah. So I can't do that. I can't move from San Antonio. And one of the reasons I can move to Colorado, I was like 300 days of sunshine and it's not humid. Let's go Springs. I love the view of the mountains as well.
As soon as I leave the Springs, my son lives in New Jersey. As soon as I get off that plane in Newark, it could literally be 60 degrees, but I still feel that humidity. Where it's like,
humidity.
This place is unbearable.
I know people will be like, "Oh, it's a dry heat. It's dry heat," and they complain about people who say the dry thing.
No, come up here during the summer. It's so much more manageable.
100%. I do love different weathers and different places. The number one place that I've ever visited to, I have to give it to Florida. Florida was gorgeous until it rained.
Humid. Yeah.
Until it rained. It was good. It was the best weather I've experienced for 30 minutes.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, it was like I was on the beach, and I remember thinking, like, this is what we want. Like, whatever this breeze moment is, where I feel cold, but I feel the sun.
Yeah.
Whatever that encapsulating is, I think that's California. I haven't been to L.A. enough to truly know their weather.
San Diego's like that.
Yeah,
it's
I heard that
perfect.
that's where the weather, the one spot. Everywhere else is either too cold, too hot, too wet, too dry.
I love how dry it is here, but the sun is like next fucking level, dude. Like, you want to get a sunburn out here? 45 minutes, you'll get cooked.
See, I am blessed with melanin, my friend.
Yeah,
so
not me.
Nice and tan, nice and tan. I do remember I lifeguarded for one summer, and I came back and I audibly heard a kid in my class go, "God damn, he's dark," and I was like, "We're four rows. We've gone to school together for years." Steven, like, what's going on, man? I thought you were someone else, man. I didn't know you grew a mustache over summer, and I'm sorry.
Fucking A, man.
Still not okay to say. Still not okay to say to kids who are introducing themselves to the class. Yeah, that was fun.
Fucking awesome.
How much time do we got left?
I'm actually thinking about wrapping it up right now. So,
Well, you have been a pleasure to speak to, man.
Same here, dude. Trying to think if there's anything else to plug besides social media and that sunshine.
Yeah, no, please message to get tickets. You can message me directly on Facebook or through Instagram at Rumery Pics. I will be posting more reels, more footages, more jokes. I've got a lot of plans for 2025.
Nice.
Just nothing in concrete yet.
And you pretty much any given weekend, we could see you at Looney's, either behind the stage or on stage, right?
Either working on the floor, behind the stage, or on stage.
There
Absolutely.
You go.
If you have any questions about what shows are going on at Looney's Comedy Corner or getting a ticket to a future show, reach out to me or Looney's.com, because that club is a part of this history, of the Springs.
Yeah.
And, it does not get said enough. If you want to know something special, feel something special, come on down to Looney's.
A part of me is wanting to record the history of the Springs. Is like, enough people are now recognizing, like, I'm building a good podcast. I want to start getting some like the older guys in here and just start making like a chronological history.
Hey, John Brown is one person that I highly recommend. He's been in the scene for a while. He's my mentor. I would have recommended Al Goodwin.
Yeah.
Rest in peace to him also.
That was this year, wasn't it?
Yeah,
was last year?
No, that was this year.
Okay.
It was this year. I got a tattoo of Badgerine on my, like, he was the first comic to take me on the road.
Hell yeah, dude.
Yeah, very first one. And then when he passed, I'd gone through all his old messages, and I looked back. He was the first working headliner who came to an open mic to watch me.
Hell yeah.
Because he believed in something that at the time I did not believe in. And it's because of him that I'm going to make sure that this next year, for anyone who wants to see more John Rumery, I promise you, you will. You will.
That's awesome, dude.
Thanks, man.
All right, I'll be seeing you guys next week. I have no idea who my next guest is. Love you. Bye.
Bye.